Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonia. Today I would like to talk about something that is actually pretty interesting. Because I know so many people I know that are actually going through it, and there are so many people on online forums and in fandoms actually going through it as well. And the topic really that I want to touch on is limerent parasocial relationships, celebrity worship for K-pop idols and K-drama actors. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit more in depth about these things today, um, and how we can actually be affecting your life. But firstly, let me just give you a rundown of my own personal story because I used to really suffer from these feelings of obsession and parasocial relationship stuff when I was very into the K-pop and K-drama space. Okay, so showing a little bit of my age here, do you guys remember or know who is the group called Tongpang Shinki, DBSK? Yeah, so they're I think second generation K-pop idols. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but how it really began was for me after graduating from high school. A friend introduced a couple of K dramas and K-pop music to me. And I was, at that time, I had a couple of months of a break in between high school and college starting. So I was like really, really free. So I was really consuming a lot of this content every day. And, I was intrigued. So there was, this K drama called Gong with Ju Ji Hoon and Yoon Eun Tae, and Delightful Girl Chun Hyang with Chae Hee and Han Chae Young, as well as My Witch Yu Hee with Han Ga In. So yeah, so you kind of already know like which era that was from. Okay, so one thing led to another for me, and soon I uncovered X Men is actually this really really funny variety show that was hosted by emceed by Yoo Chae Sok as well, and that got me on the path of Korean varieties. So I went down this like I can't even remember what I was watching at that time. It was so many, and I actually personally think that Korean variety programs are so much better way back then than now. Okay, and there was also the music. Okay, there was UN because of Kim Jong Hoon from Kong, as well as SS501. But nobody really caught my mind and my heart like DBSK did. Oh my god. Yeah, like when you see like a K-pop idol or your favorite K-drama actor, and like your heart is racing at the mere sight of them. Yeah, and you start, fantasizing of a lot of stuff, right? So that was exactly how I felt when I chanced upon my first Tongpang Shinki member that I got really obsessed with, and that was and when I saw him on X Men, I was like, oh my god, this guy is so hot. Um, and because I was so free, every single day I was just looking and searching up Tongpang Shinki content on YouTube. Okay, I was like consuming every single thing I could find, the music videos, the varieties, the interviews, the fan service, every single thing, and even their content in Japanese. I think they were promoting in Japan at the time, and even the content in Japanese, I couldn't even understand the language, and I was like just watching and laughing at stuff that I couldn't even really like understand anything about. um, yeah, so I went down a very deep K-pop abyss with Tongbang Shinki, and one thing led to another, and I was really, really sucked in. Like every single day, I was watching stuff. I saved pictures and videos of them to my phone. Um, and at the time, you can't really download like YouTube videos or whatever very easily. So I even downloaded like a video converter. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed just thinking of it. I downloaded a video to like audio converter and actually converted some of like their interviews and stuff so I could listen to it on my way to work. And I got really obsessed. I got obsessed with then it was Junsu. So I was on YouTube every day just looking them up. And I had no idea at that time, but I actually was slowly becoming incredibly, incredibly obsessed and limerent for these two guys who didn't even know me. And I was allowing them to completely occupy my mind on the daily. Okay, so I spent months, months, okay, because I had so much of time between high school and college. I spent months like trapped in this. Wow, it was like a whirlwind, but it was so exciting. Um, a whirlwind of limerence, and I was convinced that my feelings for them were really something very, very real and very, very special. Okay, and I will talk about, I'll review how that kind of crashed and burned for me later on. But in this video, I kind of want to talk about what is actually going on here. Why are we so obsessed with these K-pop idols and K-pop, like K-drama actors and anything that is Korean content related, and how, a very very simple like consumption of their media or their videos or their photos or whatever every single day can become into a full-fledged obsession and can completely lead you away from your own life and your own goals and your own dreams. Okay, yes, it can be that scary. Okay, so before I get into like before I tell you what happened to like the end of my story, okay, let me just recap a little. What is limerence? Okay, you may not have heard of it, but it's actually a phrase that was coined by a psychologist called Dorothy Tanoff in the 1970s. And she describes it as like a profound state of intense longing and infatuation for someone, even when it is not reciprocated. So it involves intrusive thoughts, fantasies, and mostly exists in the limerent person's mind. Okay, so you become perpetually obsessed, mentally obsessed, and find yourself unable to or unwilling to, okay, more often than not, to let go of your limerent object or your crush or your celebrity, object, the celeb that you are actually, worshipping. You are constantly thinking about him or her, but you can't approach them, right? These K-pop idols are like not in your country, you don't know where they are, they're celebrities, right? You can't really approach them to start a relationship or start anything. And the closest that you can get is like probably a fan meet or maybe a concert, and that's about it. Okay, and so that is limerence. And in K-pop, a lot of K-pop idol obsession that I've observed in many people, limerence plays a very, very huge part without the person actually knowing. Okay, and this other concept that I want to introduce is the concept of a parasocial relationship. And it is when one party extends emotional, psychological energy, interest, and time in another person. And the other person is usually a public figure, a celebrity, or a figure associated with mass media and who is seen very often in the public sphere. Okay, like on TV, on radio, and stuff like that. So fans of K-pop idols, like I said, besides limerence, they do tend to share some form of a parasocial relationship with the idols. And this is something that the K-pop companies and the agencies actually tend to, and the idols and the actors themselves as well, capitalize on. Okay, because building up this fake relationship between themselves and the fan is what actually brings them the money and the attention. This is something that I think a lot of fans cannot really grasp or find it very, very difficult to wrap their heads around. But in the entertainment industry, parasocial relationships are like the thing. Okay, it's like the bread and butter for some of these celebrities. So, how then is limerence related to these two concepts of parasocial relationships and celebrity worship? So the whole reason why I was so obsessed with Tongbang Shinki back in the day, and why so many people now are so obsessed with this, various K-pop idols and K-drama actors and things like that, is precisely because these three concepts are interplaying with one another all at the same time. Okay, so when we are engaging in celebrity worship, we are engaging in a parasocial relationship with them. A large part of hardcore celeb worship, as well as a large part of like hardcore fandom, as well as parasocial relationships, they have a form of fantasy and obsession intertwined with them. Fantasy and obsession are the two very basic tenets of limerence. Okay, because limerence is fantasy and is mental obsession of a person that you can never have. Okay, and why does this even happen in the first place? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about like why people get so obsessed with celebrities, and the obsession is actually fueled by the parasocial interactions and relationships, and it also tends to be very limerent in nature. And actually you'll find that a lot of very hardcore fans, they're very obsessed with these celebs. They actually display a kind of like anxious avoidant type of attachment behaviors. I'll go into that more in my book because I have a book on parasocial relationship coming out this year. But right now, let me just talk about like the kind of like the four key reasons why people are, so, obsessed with celebs. But if you find that you are struggling, okay, you're going through this video, or you feel like, some of the things I talked about, you are actually struggling right now, I do have one-on-one coaching slots and therapy slots open. Just DM me on Instagram. My handle is in the YouTube description box below. I also have various books available below that you can check out. Right. So the first thing that I want to talk about is idealization and accessibility. Okay. So celebrities are often perceived as like very perfect, godlike, unattainable beings, right? So when this actually makes us put them on a pedestal. And when we put them on a pedestal, it fuels our idealized image, okay, of them, and this mental like fantasy of them because we don't know who they are. Okay, we are not their friends, we're not their families, we don't know who they are. Um, and this sort of fantasy and mental obsession is very, very central to limerence, like I explained earlier. Parasocial relationships, okay, come into play here by providing an illusion of closeness to these perfect beings. Okay, I say perfect with like, inverted commas because celebrities are far from perfect, they're human beings, right? But the parasocial relationships that they actually encourage and they manufacture actually provide an illusion of closeness to them. So they make them seem more accessible to us, despite, the one-sided nature of the connection. One-sided because we don't know them, they don't know us, they definitely don't know us, they are not paying our bills. We don't know each other, okay, besides this parasocial thing that we actually have going on. The second point is that of emotional investment and fantasy. Okay, so limerence, as I said already, thrives on emotional investment, which often is intensified by fantasizing about reciprocation from your limerent object. Okay, so you're so emotionally invested in this celebrity, and in your fantasies and your obsessions, you actually imagine them reciprocating, your love for them, right? So you imagine them, imagine you guys in a romantic relationship, imagine you guys dating, imagine you guys married and stuff like that. This is why fans get so upset when they find out that their celebrities, the K-pop like idols and K-drama actors are actually in a real relationship with someone else because this means that the fantasies are actually broken. Parasocial relationship concepts come into play by encouraging, and this celebrity worship culture encourages this fantasizing about a relationship with the celebrity that does not exist. So it blurs the lines a lot between reality and imagination, and all this content that you're consuming, it actually is fuel for your imagination and your fantasy. This is why consuming too much of K-pop content or any other content like their V lives, their weavers, their whatever interviews outside, it actually helps to fuel this parasocial relationship and it keeps you limerent and obsessed with them. And that is what they want. Okay, that is what the agencies want. And the third thing is the role of the media. Okay, media nowadays, especially social media, it plays a very crucial role in constructing and maintaining the idealized image of celebrities. Okay, you may argue that with social media, a lot of these like image sometimes for some of these celebrities they completely crumble because then you find things out about them, right? Which is great because then it makes you like it makes you more grounded and you just kind of come to a realization that these people are also human beings and they are just real people. Okay, they are nothing god is there's nothing perfect or godlike about them. Social media, though, has opened this entire new gateway for seemingly very personal interactions with celebrities. Okay, you can talk to them on Weavers now. You can go on Bubble, the Bubble app that they have in Korea, and talk to them. You can have very personalized fan meets. You can have like video calls and things like that with them now if you were able to pay a certain amount of money. So all these things actually blur the lines between them and you, between your role as a fan and them as a celebrity, and it fosters parasocial connections where you feel as if these people are actually really your friend. Okay, and it's actually really scary and dangerous because your mind cannot tell apart fantasy and reality after a while. Okay, and it becomes like you act as if like you are part of this person's life. And the fourth point is really dopamine and reward. Dopamine is a very scary, I've come to think, neurotransmitter because actually it's something that is secreted by the brain. But so many institutions and places have made use of dopamine as this thing to keep you addicted to something. Social media has a lot of dopamine hits, and the businesses that actually set up social media design it such that you always keep coming back for more. It's kind of like an addiction. So limerence is actually, believe it or not, it is a form of love addiction. Okay, so whenever you think of your limerent object, whenever you think of your K-pop idol, your oppa, your um K-drama actor, whatever, whenever you think about them, okay, it can involve like a huge dopamine rush from your brain, and it just makes you feel so happy and so pleasurable that your brain and you will want to keep on, having those pleasurable thoughts. So you keep on thinking about them, you keep on consuming content about them, so that you keep having those dopamine hits in your brain, and it makes you feel really, really good. This is why when you are engaging in K-pop content, or you're engaging in any content with your celebrity, you feel so good, and that's the reason why dopamine is the reason. Okay, and parasocial interactions and celebrity content, okay, they can actually trigger similar reward pathways in the brain, so it reinforces the infatuation. So when you imagine that you have a kind of like interaction with them, or you think that they are looking at you in a concert, or they are talking to you during those video calls, it actually makes you feel so good and so happy. You just keep wanting to consume more content with them, you keep wanting to have interactions with them. Okay, it's super scary because it actually creates a lot of like stalkers and stalking incidents, and people that specifically actually go and camp outside an idol's or a celeb's like house in Korea. They're called sasaengs, by the way. So yeah, and this dopamine reward is actually very, very addictive, and it's very scary. So if these are things that you actually recognize about yourself, I it has to come to a point in time where you start to actually realize that it's not really very healthy for you. And personally, for me, yeah, let me just talk a little bit about how did I come to recognize that this was this obsession with this K-pop idols, and Dongfang Jingyi was not the only one. There were other people. Um, how I actually come to realize that this was an unhealthy obsession, because it's only when you realize that it's unhealthy and you recognize and acknowledge and accept that it is unhealthy and it's an obsession, is when you then begin to step away from it and stop it. Okay, so my obsession with K-pop idols didn't really stop with Dongbang Shinki. Like I said, it carried on with other people. There was Shiny, there was like, I can't remember now, SS501, and then there was like M Black, and so many. Okay, and there was always a pattern. So I would get obsessed with this one person, okay, or one idol or actor. I'll find out something, I'll get really, really obsessed with them, consume all of their content, like I said earlier. And then the minute I find out something undesirable about them, okay, like for example, they are in a real relationship. Okay, this is why K-pop companies do not want you to know that they are actually dating people. When I find out that they are in a real relationship, I just completely lose interest. Okay, because I would find someone more interesting then. Okay, and my interest in this current idol would disappear. And I would transfer my limerent feelings and parasocial like interactions onto this new idol or actor. And I always entertain various fantasies. Okay, it was always very intense and very all consuming. I'm not ashamed to say that I used to fantasize about myself being in relationships with them. Okay, and my thoughts about them were like, it kind of comes into my head like a music video, like a reel. Okay, yeah, that there are many different scenes, many different episodes, many different chapters, and I will have like a whole like 16 or 116 episode development of our romantic relationship in my head. And this went on for many, many years. Okay, as I hit my early 20s though, I started to realize that this was not very healthy or normal. And there were a couple of things that made me realize, okay, that my limerence or my obsession with them was actually very, like, it was completely consuming me. Firstly, I was constantly checking K-pop gossip sites. Okay, I was refreshing them several times a day. I would do that instead of doing my homework. I also realized that I knew way too much about these people than I even knew about my own friends. That was really embarrassing. Okay, I would know things like their heights, their weights, what they like to eat, apparently, whatever they shared in public, where their dormitories were, um, yeah, what they did, what they claimed that they did every day. I will know things like that about them, but I'll not know, I'll not care about knowing all these things about my friends and family, and that's actually really scary. I also spend way too much time consuming K-pop content, like I said. So I should have been studying or going out and socializing and being in social groups and things like that. But no, I was actually always on my computer reading up stuff about them. Okay, and I still regret this to this day because there was a huge chunk of my social life in college that was spent just, yeah, just on K-pop, and I've got nothing now to show for that K-pop obsession. Okay, and I also shied away from real relationships and men who were interested in me because it made me so anxious and overwhelmed, and I actually felt safer watching YouTube videos of the idol and fantasizing about the relationship with them. So two of the biggest deal breakers for me though were when I was dating a very nice guy. Okay, he was very into me. We were dating for a while, but I spent the whole time on our dates actually just staring at him, thinking how he's not as cute as the idol, whatever idol I was into then. And I'll rather stay at home and watch the idol's content than go out with him, right? And needless to say, he stopped asking me out after a while. And then the second big deal breaker was when Tongbang Shingi had that legal wrangle with SM, their agency. And several different members were taking up like sides with each other, and there were, breakups like this in other groups around that time as well. And this came as a massive shock to me, as I had always bought into that very um, the fact, which was really a manufactured reality by the agency and by the idols themselves, always bought into the fact that they were extremely close friends. And I was like, oh my God, this was like the ultimate betrayal to each other and to fans. And this made me realize that everything is not as nice as it seems or as they portray in public. Okay, and all these things came at a time when I was also navigating a lot of things in my young adulthood. There was school, there was a lot of stress, there was a lot of projects and things like that. um, I had to, become very cognizant about how I was spending my time because if I was spending my time on all these like idols and content, I would be failing my stuff. So it wasn't really a very sudden process for me, but it was a very gradual thing that built up over time until one day I was just like, nah, I realized I stopped going onto K-pop sites, I stopped being in tune with K-pop stuff, and I just completely fell off the bandwagon. I just wasn't interested in any of that stuff anymore. Okay, but I really want to share on some tips of how you, okay, can stop being obsessed with K-pop idols and K-drama actors. And the first thing you can do if you are really on this path of, letting go of any of that content is to really, really reduce your exposure to them. Stop watching their YouTube content, unsubscribe from videos, unfollow any social media accounts that talk about them, okay, because you know how the algorithm works, especially those on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is a complete crap fest of, okay, not ashamed to say that, of people who actually are very I find the entire place, K-pop fandoms on Twitter to be very unhealthy. Okay, so if you do actually want to stop your obsession, stay away from those apps. Okay, and start to lessen your interactions with people who keep you locked into conversations about the idols and the actors as well. Okay, for a period of time, I actually drifted apart or allowed my friendship to with this girl who was constantly sending me stuff about K-pop idols. I allowed our friendship to kind of drift away because I just didn't want to be reminded about them every day, and every single link that she sent me or piece of content or whatever, it would start my obsession all over again. And anyway, our friendship was only based off like K-pop stuff. It wasn't like something like huge or amazing or whatever. So I allowed the friendship to drift apart. Also, do not go onto K-pop sites. Okay, stop going on Soompi, stop going on Panchoa or wherever you go. All K-pop, Korean Blue, just stop. They are actually very, very bad brain food. Okay, when people talk about like reading, like all those like paparazzi kind of like journal articles and stuff like that, this is exactly the same. So stop all your content, your exposure to them. The second tip is to really start focusing on yourself, your life, and your own reality. Okay, understand that parasocial relationships, they are not real at all. Okay, they exist in your fantasy and in your head, but remaining in your fantasy and in your head means that you are never present with yourself. You are never present with your current life, your surroundings, and your purpose. And you'll find that when you're very obsessed with an idol or any celeb or whatever, you actually don't remember a very huge or significant part of your real life. Okay, you cannot remember it because your mind, your attention, and your focus is always on that person. and this person actually doesn't know you exist. Like I said, they don't actually pay your bills or anything. But being so obsessed about the minutiae of their lives, it's not necessary. Okay, you're not going to get a degree in their lives. You're not going to get a job just knowing their lives. Okay, so turn back that precious attention onto yourself. And the next thing is, which a lot of people actually kind of struggle with, is that you have to acknowledge that all of them have a very curated image. Okay, everything that you see, 99%, especially from the Korean entertainment industry, is curated. Hollywood is exactly the same. So what you are seeing is not real. Okay, although you may think that it is not. Whatever they do, whatever they say, it's all rehearsed, all planned ahead of time and all manufactured. Okay, it's called a pseudo event, and I actually talk about it in my book on parasocial relationships and the media. Um, K Entertainment has an extensive training system, and their idols actually and actors, whatever, whoever, they are all schooled in how to behave in front of the media and events, okay, in front of fans. So you never really know how they are truly like in reality. And with social media, it's amazing because now you can find out like, how these people, when they get arrested for something, then you're like, this person is actually really like that and so opposite from the image that they actually create in public. Okay, so always remember that what you're seeing is not real. Another thing is to engage in healthy interests away from K-pop. You probably had a whole life before K-pop. Okay, you had hobbies, you had books you wanted to read, things you wanted to do, dreams you wanted to follow. Start getting engaged with those stuff. Start re-engaging and redeveloping and like loving your interests all over again and loving what you had to do. You had a life before them, okay, and it's time to go back to that life. Okay. Another thing is to connect with friends and family. If you haven't already, start to rebuild a support network that really grounds you and allows you to get back into your life. If you're not close to your family and you have issues like, or you don't really have friends, start joining social groups. Okay, not K-pop social groups. Okay, start joining other social groups in your school, interest groups and things like that. Start to talk to people. Okay, and you'll find that there's so many people out there that are so interesting and so cool to get to know. Start to build up your own support network, and when you start getting engaged in your own life and in other people's lives, you'll find that celebrities, their lives don't really matter to you anymore because they are not people that you actually know and love. And last but not least, okay, start seeking support from others who understand what you're going through. Okay, you'll feel much less alone, and it's great to have some others who can understand your feelings and understand what you're going through. Don't feel embarrassed and don't suffer in silence. Okay, I think there are a lot more resources out there right now, so don't feel like you have to suffer through this alone and feel ashamed. Reach out when you feel like you cannot, you just don't feel like, yeah, you just don't feel good. Just reach out. And with that, I conclude this video. But if you are, like I said, seeking support from others to understand you, I'm someone who has been there. So, been there, done that, healed, and got out of it, has a very interesting life away from K pop and K dramas now. So, if you need you're still struggling, you need one on one coaching, or you just need to talk to someone, one-on-one coaching and therapy sessions are actually available right now. I'll actually link my Instagram handle down below in the description box. Do reach out, and I'll link my books on limerence, on jealousy, as well as my pre-orders on parasocial relationships and K entertainment down below as well. Remember, don't suffer in silence. Okay, don't feel embarrassed. People are here for you. So, and I am here for you. So, if you need any help, let me know. So, I hope this video was informative and you enjoyed it. And I will see you again in the next one. Bye for now.